Alright, guys, we got a bit more news here on what's going on over in America relating to court cases about the election and likely fraud that took place. This one is about Facebook and their CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, who donated like 400 million to various local Democrat election officials. This is on top of Trump's team taking legal action of their own, with the media trying their best to sweep it under the rug, while demanding evidence is shown to them for anything they cannot cover up before it's shown in the courts. This is obviously despite the fact that evidence is for the courts, not the media. We know that, and so do they. But even the British media are embarrassing themselves demanding evidence before the court even sees it. The usual suspects like the BBC, Sky News, and the rest of them we expect to do this shit. They are like the UK's version of CNN, but we also had Andrew Neil doing it on Twitter yesterday. The guy who is usually on the right side of the debate is shilling hard for the media complex and possibly Biden at this point. Maybe he was told he had to say this by his paymasters, but either way, he has been trashed in the comments for it, and rightly so. But Andrew Neil is no idiot. He knows this needs to go in front of a court, not be shown to a biased scum media that has no reason to see it. They don't decide court cases like they do not and never will decide elections. We all wait on the court cases for Donald Trump's team, but this one by the Amistad Project could be just as important. By, like I said, going after Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook owner who has been funding election-related activities in Detroit, Philly and Milwaukee. Now, I haven't actually seen this anywhere, but luckily the Express picked up on these latest legal challenges. Trump fight back begins. Secret memo shows president's bid to overturn election result. A $400 million donation by Chief Executive of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is the focus of one of the legal challenges to overturn the provisional US election results and enable Donald Trump to be declared winner. The Sunday Express has been shown briefing notes explaining the background to 25 legal challenges being taken across the USA by civil liberties group Armstead Project, which is carrying out legal challenges independent of the ones by the official Trump team. It has alleged that the donations mostly went to the Center for Tech and Civic Life were used to boost voter fraud in key states in the election. The money was donated specifically to increase voter turnout and was targeted at areas which had backed Hillary Clinton in 2016. Such as Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Detroit in key swing US states. Previous legal attempts to block the donations were turned down by a court in Pennsylvania, but the Armstead Project is now pursuing the funding by linking them to allegations of voter fraud. A source close to the Armstead Project said the CTCL, an organization funded and run by Democrat power brokers, received $350 million of Zuckerberg's money, the vast majority of which was handed out to election officials in counties that voted overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Which surely should be more than a bit suspicious, but if you're the media, they just let that shit fly, and obviously big tech, they will just cover it up. We have seen how well they have done that over the past few weeks and months. The source went on, documents obtained through court order revealed that CTCL grants came with significant strings attached, dictating the number of polling places, at least 800 in Philadelphia, and ballot drop boxes in a given jurisdiction. Which if you're the media or the Democrats doesn't look suspicious in any way, shape or form. This usurped the authority of state legislators to determine the manner in which elections are conducted and massively inflated Democrat turnout. Well, we can tell that just by the numbers of people who voted for old Sleepy Joe. If ever you needed any evidence, you just need to look at the insane amount of people that apparently voted for this senile old tosspot. It would have been like Jeremy Corbyn winning the election last year with 50 million votes. It was never going to happen. Most of the country fucking despised him. The same, I'm sure, is true of Joe Biden. Well, it definitely is from people I've heard of, and most of them are actually originally Democrat voters. It goes on, it claims that legal precedent set by the Supreme Court's ruling on the Bush v. Gore election ruling in 2000 makes that a direct violation of the US Constitution when a state election official changes a law enacted by the state legislature for the purposes of administering elections. The briefing documents note, according to the CTCL's own website, these funds were primarily spent on poll workers, temporary staffing, and mail absentee equipment supplies. They released this information only after we exposed them in court and news stories about their activities started to circulate. Well, I bet they didn't start to circulate on CNN, the BBC, or anything like that. I certainly hadn't seen anything about it on there. It was a few select American outlets that let me see that Facebook were neck deep involved in this bullshit. Though, to be honest, that was never really in any doubt, was it? It goes on, Zuckerberg's money literally paid the salaries of election workers who proceeded to lock Republican observers out of the ballot counting rooms and then blocked off the windows to make sure nobody could view the process. Which should have obviously sent alarm bells ringing, and the FBI should have been in there saying these motherfuckers are clearly cheating. Obviously, that didn't happen. They were allowed to do it. And then, as some of you might remember, lots of states all of a sudden stopped counting in the middle of the night. I wonder why that was. Actually, no I don't, we already fucking know. It also claims Philadelphia officials who requested and received $10 million in Zuckerberg money from CTCL predicted that the money would allow them to increase turnout in the city by 25 to 30%, a difference of about 200,000 voters representing a 170,000 vote swing in favour of Joe Biden. And if you ask me, representing the fact that someone might have known they could fraudulently add 25 to 30%. How in the good lord fuck can 10 million guarantee you 25 to 30% more votes? I'm pretty sure if that was the case, every candidate for every election, local, house, everywhere else would be doing the exact same thing. This is just a load of old bollocks. And if the courts over in America are actually worth their salt, they should be calling this out in seconds. Obviously, the Democrat-run ones won't, but the rest of them surely should. The legal challenges have also linked the CTCL work to a campaign book drawn up by former Obama campaign manager David Sumfuck. He predicted that the 2020 presidential election would come down to a street fight involving block-by-block efforts to turn out voters in key Democratic strongholds, such as Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Detroit. Fraud allegations have been denied by the Democrats and states concerned. Well, imagine our shock at that one. And obviously, Zuckerberg and CTCL haven't bothered to reply to the Sunday Express, though we don't know how long ago they actually asked them these questions. It could have been days ago, or they could have asked them 10 minutes before starting. But at this point, I would certainly say the circumstantial evidence is showing up for a bunch of snivelling shitweasels taking the piss over in America. At this point, I would be more surprised if it turns out there was actually no fraud and it was proven beyond any reasonable doubt. The way it looks to me is it's going to be proven and there's going to be an absolute fuck ton of it. Hopefully, people start doing some serious time for this bullshit. But questions certainly need to be asked of people like Facebook's CEO Mark Zuckerberg and what the fuck he thinks he's doing funding US elections over there. Actually, we know what he's doing. He's likely taking part in the bullshit that has been going on. We will have to wait and see. I'm sure if he did, it may well come out, providing of course that Trump wins.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.